So that's about the enabling environment to accelerate the process of setting up a hydrogen valley. And last but not least, it's the sustainable development. This is the chance to grow locally the community. We did that in the Northern Netherlands. So in the Northern Netherlands, we had the issue that there's a big gas field under the province of Groningen, and that causes a lot of earthquakes, and the people got very anxious about it. So we needed an alternative, and we decided, or the province and the private companies decided, okay, let's switch our gas infrastructure to green hydrogen, and let people benefit from new jobs, etc., etc. So sustainable development is very important also to bring the continuity. And for every region has its own sustainable development parts to improve. So it's not that because we did in the Northern Netherlands focusing on jobs, it's for every region his own specifics. Yes, so we also try to incorporate the Sustainable Development Goals. And this is, you can do this on a technical way. I'm going to explain it. We call it impact by design. For a hydrogen valley, you need a very technical picture in order to set up all the technical part of the hydrogen value chain. So as I mentioned, it's the generation, the production, the storage, the transport, and the offtake. So if you design your hydrogen valley, then by the design, you should incorporate already the Sustainable Development Goals. So for example, affordable energy for all. Why, if you produce electricity, why not share it with the community? Or for example, if you hire people, make sure that that the gender equality is also be taken into account. If you use, but I come later to that too, clean water, if you have a desalination process in place, you can also use it for more, like drink water or desalination water for agriculture. So it's important to, when you start drawing your picture of your hydrogen valley, take into account everything you can regarding sustainable development. So, as I mentioned before, it's all about a hydrogen valley with an ecosystem around it. So again, you have the generation, the production, the storage, the transport and the consumption. But you need a lot of extra ecosystem parts in order to flourish your hydrogen valley. So for example, you can, in the Northern Netherlands, we have a lot of local SMEs that really adapted their business into the green hydrogen economy and really flourished from that. You also need a national government, but also local governments. You need a lot of education, train the people, do research. It's about public transport, buses that can run on hydrogen. Hydrogen is also a very good alternative for the telecom sector to run their transmission towers on green hydrogen. It's about financing because it requires a lot of money, and you need the bilateral banks, for example, to make investments in order to accelerate the transition to green hydrogen. It's about tourism, as a lot of hotels run on diesel generators when the power switches off. That can also be done on green hydrogen. As I mentioned before, you can also help the agriculture. You can produce, for example, fertilizer with green hydrogen. As I said, local governments. And as announced, I was yesterday in Cape Town on the Green Hydrogen Summit. And I see great possibilities, for example, for South Africa and Namibia to collaborate and to drive forward the hydrogen economy together. But it's also very important that you take up this society. So the key is really on top-down, but also a bottom-up approach in order to set up the hydrogen valley. If there's a role in the hydrogen economy for everyone to play, everyone, if we want to switch to a green hydrogen economy, we need to have all people on board. So it's also important to take the society on board with the transition. And of course, heavy industry. We have examples that trucks or big mining trucks are already running on hydrogen. And of course, you need the grid solutions. So yeah, that's about the ecosystem. And then, yeah, the question is, how can we create a hydrogen valley? And that's about forming a coalition of the willing. There are always a few parties that really believe in green hydrogen, and you need those partners to work together in order to start a hydrogen valley. Then it's about analysis of the different components of the hydrogen valley. So it's about the technical and the market context, but it's also about the enabling environment and the sustainable development, so that you have a good picture on the region where you're going to put your hydrogen valley in. And then you can generate your first design of a hydrogen valley. But of course you need some proof and a business case in order to make it really happen, and some scope decision in order to create your final design for a hydrogen valley, and a project plan. And if you have your final plan, then you can really start engineering and building it. So, and this is my last slide already. What I wanted to share is that everybody has a role to play. We are building the future now together. And yeah, it's about construction, but it's also about collaboration, and it's about society. Yes, so let's do and work on green hydrogen valleys. Thank you.
Dankjewel, Anne.
Wow.
Dankjewel, Anne.
Alsjeblieft.
Let's give her another round of applause, please. Despite surviving green hydrogen in the mother city, despite surviving the flight and making it on time, she still managed to explain to us what I find intriguing, how these valleys actually operate. I cannot imagine that we do not have a question for her about those valleys, at least from those in the room. I'm unable to imagine that. Yes, Doc. No pressure. Our delegates in the virtual community, I understand, are still keeping a very low profile. Perhaps they're digesting, they're ingesting. Hopefully they are still in our virtual midst. Go ahead, Doc, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Detlof van Oertzen. Thank you, Anne, for this very interesting presentation. My question is specifically about your vision, whether these valleys are basically closed systems that produce the hydrogen that they will be using, or whether they will continue to rely on imports of hydrogen. And of course you will understand why I'm asking that. Namibia, as a potential exporter of hydrogen, would be very interested to export to places that have a demand. But my question is, are you now designing European cities to be completely self-sustained? And of course I say that with a twist in my tongue. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you for the question. So we as the EU, we cannot produce enough hydrogen ourselves, so we need to import. We have a big demand, so we need to import green hydrogen. If I look to the northern part of the Netherlands, we have a harbor there, Eemshaven, and also a big port, Rotterdam, where we can import the green hydrogen. So to answer your question, it really depends on the region where you have the hydrogen valley. And if I speak for the northern Netherlands, then of course we have both possibilities to produce it ourselves, but also to import in order to meet our demands.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Anne. My name is Nicky Mbaimbai. I'm sure everybody knows me by now. I have two questions for you. The first question is just in terms of the hydrogen production process, what is the byproduct used for in terms of the hydrogen valleys that you have developed in the Netherlands? The second question also regarding the valleys, what are the potential timelines, taking into account, of course, the historical timelines that you have seen in the development of the hydrogen valley, such as the one in the city of, the specific city you have mentioned in the Netherlands, that is from feasibility to execution, because then we would like to gauge that with our own pilots. Thank you.
Yes. So let me be transparent, and it takes years. The first phase, to do a study on the region and to make your design, that can be done quicker, but to really build the hydrogen valley, it will take years, because you need infrastructure, you need to really prepare your whole system for a green hydrogen economy. So that's the answer on your second question. The first answer of the first question is that we use in the northern Netherlands really the hydrogen as a gas, for example, to use it for the transport and the mobility and the fuel stations and the production processes of the heavy industry.
Just one moment, we just need you to have access to the microphone so that those in the virtual space are also privy to what it is that you have to say. So you just want to provide some clarity. Please do so briefly. Thank you very much.
Yes, my question was not on the use of the hydrogen, but on the use of the byproduct, which is the oxygen.
Ah, yes.
Thank you.
That's a very technical question. I'm not sure if I can answer that, but I can put you into contact with someone who really does. Yeah.
Very well. Dr. van Dorderen.
I actually can partially comment on that. I know that oxygen can be used, obviously not only in the medical field, but also in mines. So for instance, for gold mining, you also need oxygen actually in order to clean it and add value to it. So that's actually where Namibia is also well positioned, because we can produce hydrogen close by to the mines, and then obviously the oxygen can be stored and it can be used in the process as well. So that's one of the possible uses of the byproduct.
Yes, but for the northern Netherlands, I'm not aware. Yeah, what they do with it.
Do we have another question in the room?
Yes, you know, of course, my name, Jan Kruse. Can you just...
Sorry, sir, we may not be privy to it. It is that you are in what capacity you are here at this moment.
Well, I'm also speaker tomorrow, so I'll
we know that.
it, yeah.
We know that, but I'd just like you to provide that context very briefly. Thank you.
So I'm also Dutch. I'm also an investor in Namibia, in solar off-grid, but I'm also at the same time, I'm in the same region, a supervisory board member of an investment fund, and a state-owned one, and an investment promotion and development board, like you have here, but that's combined in our case. And I'm also the chairman of the investment fund, of the investment committee. But can you expand a little bit on the impact side of Impact Hydrogen, because that's the name of your company, and what it can do for Namibia specific, and how you could see a hydrogen valley developing here, because you are very much explaining the situation in the Netherlands, and also basically linking into the question of Detlof, how do you see it developing here, and what's the impact? What is the, you mentioned the SDG goals, but one is more important than the other, specifically for Namibia.
Yes,
and with your indulgence, because there's a similar question that emanated from the virtual space in the meantime, and you touched on it earlier when you spoke to us about it taking years. I think, not to be unfair towards you, but if we are talking about years, does it mean 2 centuries from now that everyone in the room might no longer be here?
No.
Are we talking about 120,000 years? So
5 years.
Need a bit of perspective on that, because that's also part of the challenge that the average Namibian has about green hydrogen. when will it realize? How possible is it? So in the context of the valleys, of course, if you can maybe just provide us with some indication of the timelines.
Yes, definitely. So, for example, in the Northern Netherlands, we in the middle of setting it up. Approximately, it takes 5 years, and that is because you build a new ecosystem, a new infrastructure. So, and I just wanted to make sure that, because sometimes I get the question, okay, then in a few months we have our hydrogen valley, and that's not the case. So, yeah, that's the answer to that. And for the social impact, as I mentioned before, it's very important to take impact by design upfront in the process, because when you start drawing your design, you can already put the points where you want to make impact, especially for a certain region. And as I mentioned before, it can be done via creating jobs, gender equality, but also agriculture and clean water. And it's very important that that we incorporate the benefits of a green hydrogen valley into the community. So if you live close by a solar park, it cannot be the case that you don't have enough access to electricity. So it's important to already take that upfront in your design.
Do we have another question in the room in the absence thereof? Thank you.
Thank you very much for a very informative presentation. My name is Alina Usiku. I'm with the Namibian Green Hydrogen Research Institute. My question is very short. I just want to know, you spoke on the incorporation of sustainable development goals in the green hydrogen valleys. How do you make sure that that does not kill the existing economy, either in the Netherlands or in Namibia, when we try to do the same thing, if it's really compatible to us as well? Thank you.
Can you explain a little bit more on what you mean by killing the existing?
For example, you spoke about, when you are using the water, when you require the water for the production, you need to desalinate the water. We also have to make sure that we are not only desalinating water for the green hydrogen production, but also to use for agriculture or for the community's consumption. So for your valley to be successful in the production, and yet you're sharing, or yet you are incorporating the sustainable goal to share with the community, how do you put the balance of which economy is more important, hydrogen or the existing one?
Yeah, no, it's a balance, and you should investigate that upfront. Also, it's important to incorporate life cycle management. So if you raise one of the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, we need to make sure that we do not lower another one. So it's really important in the first part of the investigation and the research to really take a look at the life cycle management, and to see that, for example, the desalination process does not harm the existing system. So therefore we're looking into, for example, desalination of the seawater and not, for example, the sweet water, because that's the drinking water.
That'll be the last one, Doc. The last question for this session. Thank you.
Sorry, I did not wish to dominate here. Question is, there may be somebody else. Denver, I'll leave it in.
There were no indications, so please go ahead, but yours will be the last question. Thank you, Doc.
Thank you very much. What I would find very interesting in your perspective on the following dilemma that we have in Namibia. In Namibia, we have a very significant number of people that are not connected to the electricity grid. You know, the number is below 50% in terms of access to grid. We have a significant number who do not have access to primary health care, who are not connected to the water system, who still use the bush as a toilet, etc., etc. So there are about, from our 2.3, 2.4 million people, there are about 1.6 million people that are quite close to being rather vulnerable. And if we run into another drought or so, they are vulnerable. Question now is, would you say that, you know, the hydrogen economy, as you're painting beautifully for the Netherlands, is a concept that could possibly bootstrap us out of this dilemma that we have and achieve, you know, the sustainable development goals, including, you know, access to electricity, etc., all these others? I don't mention it, because Denwa will look with a fiery eye to me and say, keep it short. What can we learn from your concept for developing Namibia to the benefit of the last rural person out there?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, and the answer to that is that it's a combination of the central part and the decentral part of the Hydrogen Valley. So, for example, for the rural areas, you can use the off-grid solutions. And in order to flourish your local economy, you can use the export and bring it back to grow your domestic market. So that's, yeah, that would be my answer. So it's really a combination of doing it decentral and very much to the rural communities, but also central, because you can produce the bigger amounts that you need for the export. So you have, yeah, you can produce hydrogen on a small scale, but also on a large scale, and you need both in order to cover every part of the country.
Very well. And just in conclusion, 2 questions additionally that emanate from the virtual space. One delegate in that space wants to know, what was the impact, not socially that you explained to us very eloquently earlier, but what was the impact of that 5-year-long project of erecting the valley on the environment? Number 1. Number 2, as far as the design of the valley is concerned, to what extent, the delegate wants to know, is that in compliance with EU standards? Thanks.
Yes. Okay, I'm going to answer first the last question. The Hydrogen Valley in the northern part of the Netherlands was set up with EU funds. It's also being created to set a certain standard in the EU. Yes. And what was the first question?
The first question had to do with what impact did the erection of the valley have on the environment?
Yes. Yes, so the effect on the impact on the environment was mostly into, how you say, the sea, for example, because we have a lot of a great, big offshore wind farm park, sorry. So there, and we took extra research from the Rijksuniversity of Groningen in order to not harm the environment.
Very well. Thank you well again, Anne. Let's give her a Namibian green hydrogen-powered applause, please. I understand I'm so charged, Doc, with green hydrogen that in the meantime my collar flared up totally on its own. I didn't even touch it. That's where you are after a whole day. We have come to the end of day 1 for a recap on the salient points of what transpired today to set the scene for tomorrow so that we again hit the ground running. Allow me to call on Dr. Philippus Ishimone, Senior Lecturer, the Department of Physics, Chemistry, and Material Science at the University of Namibia. Let's give him a big round of applause, please.
Yes, good afternoon. Okay, yeah, I was actually looking forward to that response. It's a bit, yeah. So use this one, eh? Okay, thank you. Yes, thank you very much. As introduced, my name is Philippus Ishimone from UNAM and also at the Green Hydrogen Research Institute. So, yeah. When I actually was requested to do this, the feeling was somehow, because this is a simple task and also a difficult task, depending on who you ask, that is. For the audience in the venue and on the online platform, I think you'll say like I have the easiest task, but for my previous speakers, I'm actually here to give a summary of what you presented, and I'm not actually sure if I will do that properly. Yeah, so I was actually checking like each presenter on average, maybe the slides are 15 for all the presenters, and I was only given one slide per presenter to summarize what they said, so let's see how it goes. Actually, I don't have any outline, but first is like on the masterclass, on the welcoming remarks. I just said like masterclass, like what is it? Yeah? So we are saying that this is just to ensure that everyone is involved or like in the discussion on green hydrogen. And this is, as it was pointed out, this is just a first of many. Probably last for this year, but definitely we'll have another one next year. And then just to have a discussion around green hydrogen for everyone in Namibia, okay? So that is it with the first one. The next one is on the green hydrogen value chain. So Dr. Chiguvare, I'm very sorry if I will not do a proper job here, but we are saying that we all have a role to play in the green hydrogen industry. The image on the screen might not be very clear, but we are starting with green hydrogen production, and then the applications, for example, we have on the, somewhere here on the left-hand side, you can see here like energy applications, material applications, for example, and then you talk about storage and distribution, site infrastructure. So like the value chain is huge as it has been presented, and I think everyone in Namibia will have a role to play, not only in Namibia, in SADC, in Africa, and the whole globe. And when it comes to this, actually the question that people ask is that, what must I do to contribute to green hydrogen? You don't need to go and study green hydrogen, isn't it? If you're an accountant, I'm sure like a company somewhere in there will find you, like, will be able to employ you, isn't it? If you're an engineer, a company, it does, even in agriculture, you say we have engineers like working on these green schemes and so on. You'll still find, you don't need to go and study green hydrogen, is it? So you'll still find or play a role in that. Okay, so please don't go and change your careers. That is what we are saying here. Yeah? But reskilling at some points will be needed, but still you will be finding a role to play. Actually, Dr. Shafuda, this one, I never looked at it like that. By the way, I studied chemistry, but I really never looked at it like this. And then when I saw his presentation, it was like, this is very interesting, because he made it so easy for us to understand. We are just talking about green hydrogen, but we usually forget the basics. What is really a green hydrogen? Again, like last week, Friday, I had an engagement activity with the high school learners. And then they were like, no, but burning hydrogen, how is it more safer or better than like using fossil fuels, for example? Those questions are coming up because we are not really engaging people like to such levels. It's not low levels, but just the basics, pointing out the basics to make sure that we bring everyone along as we go with the discussion on green hydrogen. So thank you very much. And this is on green hydrogen research, mostly focusing on the storage. That is like on in underground geologic formations. So we had a green hydrogen research conference, and one of our colleagues from the geosciences department was actually talking about the same idea, and I was like, now when I saw today's presentation, I think it is something we can learn from and then see how we can collaborate. So this is, again, something that was mentioned. So down there I said, like, what are the current research activities in the area, And how can we establish some collaborations and see how we can do this in Namibia? But, okay. Yeah, the next one actually again talks to the green hydrogen value chains, and this is like on the international hydrogen market and complex large projects, okay? Again, people were worried that maybe after 5 years we will be producing, what is it? What was the value? Was it 10 million tons or something of hydrogen, and we don't have the market, but we were assured that the market will always be there for the hydrogen or the ammonia or the other derivatives. And then how all the other, again, industries can come in and work together. Like if a company is in solar, his company is in wind, someone is like in water production, which is needed for desalination, I don't know, for electrolysis. And then manufacturing of the components for the electrolyzers, for example, ammonia production, which extends to the agriculture, isn't it? So, yeah, that is it. And then local hydrogen utilization cases in agriculture. So we have like now the Dores Green Hydrogen Village. And here, the main point which I actually summarize from there is just that this will be an opportunity for us to see the benefits of the green hydrogen value chain, because they presented everything from production to agriculture. So we are actually looking forward to the implementation of that, pilot project. Then a nice one for Prof. Bollinghouse on hydrogen safety and handling. So again, here I just actually have a summary which you are saying that building trust in green hydrogen technologies by working together with the research institutions, the industry via research. But I actually like this flowchart from Prof. Thank you very much, which you are talking about research building knowledge. Knowledge will, avoids failures, and then failure avoidance brings safety. And then we will definitely trust this green hydrogen technologies or the new technologies. Yeah, and then we come to the hydrogen shipping and cost. We said like shipping has been identified as the ideal enabler for the distribution of, distribution of hydrogen from continent to continent, for example. And we can already look at the devised strategies by countries such as South Korea and Japan, for example, is presented. Okay, last but not least, we are talking about the hydrogen valleys. We definitely, it has been done in some other countries, so we can definitely learn from that and then see how we can implement it in Namibia. But definitely, as Doc pointed out, that not forgetting the Namibian society, how we are structured. And again, they like the Sustainable Development Goals. Maybe they are not visible, but I just wanted to bring this out that we all have a role somehow to play. And actually why I like this is that, and why it is coming out here at the Green Hydrogen project for the Namibian nation is that while we are like coming up with this new technology or the hydrogen project, we are also thinking about how to implement it sustainably. Because in the years while like we have this global warming, it was because people were only thinking about their industrial revolutions, but not really concerned about the environmental impacts. But now, while we are implementing the Green Hydrogen project, we are already thinking about the SDGs, so that is very, very important. And then definitely I have to summarize my presentation also, right? Thank you very much. Okay, there's nothing. Yeah. Actually, the best thing is that I don't get to receive questions. So.
Sorry, Doc, you're not going anywhere yet. I think he deserves another round of applause. I, like many of you, had to sit here all day, but I wasn't bored by that summary. In fact, I picked up a number of additional nuances. So you really did a sterling job with that. Thank you very much. we're not going to let him go without questions. Is there perhaps someone who has a question about his take on what transpired in this room today? We're going to keep it brief and to the point and be very serious about it. Any comment other than thank you from the good doctor? All right. The other good doctor may have a question or a comment.
Sorry, Denver, I wanted to ask a question and not say thank you. Maybe Dr. von Dodoro would like to rather say the thank yous afterwards.
No, Dr. Shigavera in front, this very good doctor, said a thank you.
Yes,
off the cuff from the floor.
Yes.
Yes.
Now, first of all, thank you very much for a fantastic summary. I thought that you did this very well, and it was quite gripping, in terms of, getting these individual bite-sized summaries presented. So, lovely job there. Secondly, I would be very interested to hear your personal opinion, and I do understand that you are a staff member of the University of Namibia. What are the day-to-day challenges that you would find in the staff complement and in the student body in terms of understanding what this green hydrogen evolution or revolution could do to us? Could you maybe have a succinct explanation of where are we finding ourselves here on campus? Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Doc. Yeah, actually there is a kind of interest from the students and the staff. But it is like, from the side of the staff is that, for example, we still haven't really started with the research or the detailed research, so they are feeling like, okay, I know we want to go this direction, but where are the equipment, or how are we going to do this, like with the available resources? So that is the current feeling that we have, but we are managing, and then we are actually hoping that with the implementation of the pilot project, the research will take off. On the side of the students, currently, like for the currently, running programs, actually what they are mainly concerned about is just if they will find employment in the green hydrogen sector. So we are actually telling that, yeah, it's actually just when I started off that you are still good, like you are a chemist, you'll definitely, or you are a geologist, or you are an engineer, will find a job, like in any of the industries that will be, like for example, enhanced by the green hydrogen revolution. But on the other hand, again, for the prospective students, as I said again, everybody now wants to, like, asking that course, what is that course? Like, I want to study green hydrogen. But all we are saying is that we are planning on, for example, at postgraduate level, to implement very soon, or to start the program on the revised program on renewable energy, which will have a component of green hydrogen and synthetic fuels. But yeah, the engagement is actually good and interesting, so we actually just hope to move forward from here, Doc. Yes. Okay.
Let's not subject him to trauma unnecessarily. He had a specific mandate, and he in fact executed very well. He is a wealth of expertise, without a doubt, but let's not subject him to trauma. Shoot and do so very briefly, please.
Oh, no, thank you so much. At least the good doctor is also, my question to him actually is, since he did the conclusion, I mean, on all the topics presented on the day, specifically for the valleys, looking to the last presentation, because I could not pose the question to her because we have 4 valleys already within our green hydrogen space. My question is that, looking into what was presented and what is already has been done in the Netherlands, what's your take on our 4 valleys? Do you think, as per the SDG, were they done properly, or is there room for us perhaps maybe to improve on what was presented? But my question is extended not only to maybe to the other good doctors that are here.
No, we're unfortunately not going to be able to have a good doctor engagement of that scope and caliber and magnitude that you are proposing. Unfortunately, we won't be able to accommodate, but perhaps this good doctor.
Mr. Denver, because we have 4 values that are out there already, and of which project is already have engaged on already.
Be that as it may, this good doctor will tackle that one. Thank you very much.
Yes. Yeah, no, actually, I actually had a chance to look at those 4 values that you are talking about. And when I looked at them, they are actually well formulated. But I must say that there's always room for improvement, and we can always learn from each other. And I think we'll definitely, learn a thing or two from the presented values. Thank you.
It's the politically correct answer for me. Thank you very much, Doctor. You are excused. Yeah. Tapandula unene, Dr. Ishimone. Thank you, unene. Believe it or not, we started here just before 9 o'clock this morning, and by the end of this day, someone in fact from this room asked whether or not certificates of attendance will be awarded to attendees, to delegates, having completed the 2-day intense training. And with all due respect to that person who engaged me about this matter, at the time I thought, what an outrageous idea. I engaged to a limited extent the powers that be about the matter, and there were 2 opposing views. They don't know that they engaged both of them separately, and I will also not make it uncomfortable by exposing the opposing views. But as a layperson, I can certainly learn, having survived the Green Hydrogen Conference in August, having attended the launch of the country's national strategy on green hydrogen, how this masterclass just added that additional level, that additional layer. So we're starting to truly dissect and take it apart from different angles, from different views. And the expertise in the room made it phenomenal. Every single one of you in attendance, physically, but also virtually, contributed to the richness of the discourse, to the richness of the conversation. Because you are who you are, and because you stand in the shoes that you stand in the society of ours, you brought to the table that fresh perspective, and we were able to engage, and we were able to learn, and we were able to grow. For that, you deserve a big hydrogen-powered round of applause. Thank you. We need you to prioritize a good evening's rest this evening. We need you to be seated and focused no later than 8:15 tomorrow morning after a strong cup of coffee or 2. We would like to touch base with the Green Hydrogen Commissioner, who was unable to join us today, and he'll be here in person. And as I'm sure you would want to engage him about certain policy matters that are very relevant and that are very pressing, but we also have a full program to get through by lunchtime. And again, we'd like to leave as little meat as possible on the bone. So for that purpose, we need to commit ourselves to honor time, but you've done sterlingly today, and I'm super proud to have been part of these proceedings. Thank you very much. Rest well. If you are a visitor, of course, you need to explore the city a bit as well, but do not do so to the extent to which you will be physically present, but emotionally and mentally absent tomorrow. Have a wonderful evening. See you tomorrow morning.